Today, welcome back to Human Resource Management. Today, we're talking about base wage and salary systems and what motivates people to work. Interestingly, most companies are run by old guys like me, and they are usually taught something when they're at the age like you guys in their teens or 20s. What is a good way to teach and what is a good way to learn? Ultimately, the students, once upon a time, they learn how they should pay staff. And now they're managers or directors or vice presidents or CEOs of companies, and they're still compensating the same way that they were taught back in the 80s, 90s, or a long time ago. And I want to focus today on this whole idea of, is there one way to compensate people? Is there one way to pay people? And should it be the same everywhere in the world? That idea of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we understand, is a motivational theory that was promoted by the West, saying self-actualization exactly is at the top and other things are at the bottom, versus places like Japan, where working as the self is actually a very bad thing, and it's one of the first things they want to overcome, and being part of the group is the ultimate goal. And so in some countries, it's the opposite, what they're looking for with motivation. And the idea of Maslow, Herzberg, McGregor, the equity theory, the reinforcement theory, there's many different theories of motivating people. So salaries, I would think, would have that same idea. There's many different theories. Do they change over time? And do they change by groups of people, by cultures of people? Again, most theories, most people, most companies are following the old system. So what are we looking at? Before I get into the idea of what are our objectives today, I want to just go through and make sure everybody here is aware of our class files, everything through bit.ly, HRM online, and the context here. We understand that most of your marks are for going through a group project, which basically is done now. The only final thing that we have is your final presentation, and that's worth 20 marks. Other than that, if you present some other extra information, you may be able to get more points for your participation or bonus points. So we've gone through chapter 1, chapter 2, the idea of what is a CV. Try to point some of these things out. The idea of submitting your CV, getting hired, the idea of recruiting when you are working inside a company. You could have thousands of people applying. So many companies now have the automated system that is looking through resumes using software that searches for keywords. Do you guys have your keywords sorted out? And the key skills even better. Also similar to that, many people are online. So companies are, before they start paying you, they are checking who you are, how good you are, and they're probably checking you through your social media. And if you're saying many bad things about other companies or bad things about your boss or bad things about anybody above you, that's kind of a red flag to the HR when they're going to be looking for potential candidates to recruit. So just keep that in mind when you're saying anything online. Next, the idea of checking for people being professional, the idea of LinkedIn. You guys have started doing LinkedIn activities very well. Keep doing it, keep expanding that idea, because the more you have, the more the companies will think you are valuable, and it will help in your negotiation for your compensation and your wages. It does impact quite a lot. I've seen it several times. Other than that, we've talked about selecting employees. We've talked about orienting employees, the training manuals, how you should be ready even before day one, even if you're here in Korea, where companies in Korea don't normally use training manuals. How do they normally train people here? Are you aware, Pia?
Yeah, in-house training. So they don't expect them to know everything, but they shape them.
Any idea how long typical companies take to shape the new recruits?
Maybe half a year to a year.
Yes, sometimes they can spend many months just training the new hires to do the job here. However, that's very quickly changing because companies are now aware with the coronavirus that you have to work online. You have to be able to have workers online doing almost any jobs. They're able to hire people from anywhere in the world to start doing the jobs. And they're seeing that people from the other side of the planet sometimes are able to do the job better than the local recruits that they usually have. So be aware that when you are trying to get a job, increasingly you are competing with people on the other side of the world. And not only will you need to compete with them, but the salary, the companies will be able to negotiate. Well, yes, you may be more desirable for this reason, this reason, this reason, but this guy on the other side of the world in Nepal is looking for 50 cents an hour. What can you say for that type of argument? Make sure you're thinking about, hopefully they might not ask you that in your interview, but you might want to think, how can you compete with somebody like that? The idea of you guys have started to make your presentations and regardless of anything you're going to present, make sure from the very beginning, you understand what is the value you can give to somebody else. You should be working in a mutually beneficial way. And so when you are talking about wages and salaries, it's the same thing. Don't just say, I want this much money because I'm a great guy. You should be saying, I'm doing this for the company, or I can do this for the organization. And so this is only a small part of that. I think it's worth your consideration. And if you think that is a little bit hard to manage, maybe we can talk about what additional things I can do for you. That is usually better than just saying, I want this pay. The guy next door has that kind of pay. That doesn't work very often anymore at all. So again, week 11, the idea of what we're talking about is the salary incentive pay systems, how to negotiate and recognize the right people. So we're going through a variety of things here. Before we get into the lecture notes, I just wanted to point out that recently I posted a file and I see, I believe Gunsu Kim was from last year. Some of these are students in the past. They're still active in the group. So you guys should be active. Some of them are working now, try to interact with these other people in the group. Some of these people are Samsung employees now too, since you're interested in that. You guys should all also be trying to share your files here, because when you present, just like when you're in HR, you have to make sure the message is not just your message. When you're in HR, you're managing a message from management and you're managing a message from the workers, that if you just focus on trying to say what you want to say, that can be a very big problem. And not just related to research writing classes, but it's the same idea. You need to be able to start saying a lot more references. Management is saying this, management wants this, the workers said this, Tom Jones, the head of the union, says this. That's better than saying, I want this. Because I is this one person with very little value in companies more often than if you're management or if you're the leader of a group of others. So reference and start presenting what others want. Even when you're presenting your own research project, try to present your idea with a very valuable hook to catch the people's attention with HR or whatever, and then check they understand. Don't continue to keep talking for a long time without checking. So, Soledad, with your research project that you've spent 11 weeks on now, what would be 2 sentences to attract this guy that's the director of a company to focus and talk to you for the next 10 minutes. Take your 11 weeks of research and put it into 1 or 2 sentences that's a hook, very attractive, to get this guy to want to talk to you for a while. You can teach him, okay, that's a good idea. A lot of people are saying, I can do these things, but it sounds like a salesperson. When you're saying that I can help you, or if you pay me money, I can do something, a lot of people, especially older people, they may have heard that and they don't believe it anymore. They want to see the evidence. So if you are really good, give them a couple of these hooks, give them a couple of things that do teach them something new to start with. So start thinking about that, especially when you're going to be presenting your final presentation. So it's nice that you're thinking what he may be interested in, but just go ahead and start giving him something that you think he's going to be interested in. And then ask, is that ideal for you? How could we, you tell me what you're more interested in, and I'll tell you something that's customized for that. And you can develop that stuff later. It's better than just asking for that one job alone. I'm not sure if you guys are online. Any of you guys know which one is this recording for the cloud? Hua, have you started recording for the cloud?
I think you already did, and we are recording.
So, end story here is make sure your files are posted online. Make sure you guys are trying to get feedback from other people online. Here is one of the recent stories that's talking about Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is one of the big famous companies, investment banking companies. They usually pay almost the most. So investment companies and consulting companies usually pay more than almost anybody else. And this organization has been paying people your age, new university hires, $85,000 a year to start. So your very first job, you can get $85,000 a year. I believe that's very good for a normal new graduate of university. And now they're saying they're upgrading it to $110,000. Why would people jump 30%? Any ideas? Yeah.
Maybe they have really good experience and realize that they really want to work, but they also want find good people so that they should attract them.
Okay, good. We're looking at the bright side. Now that the coronavirus situation has come, everybody and every company has started to work online, and then the world is starting to see a lot of younger people like working from home, so they can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 jobs, or start their own business consulting online. They're seeing that they don't want to go back in and work for companies. When companies like Goldman Sachs, just a few weeks ago, they were saying that everybody in New York has to start going back into the office and start working a regular job again. Unfortunately, a lot of these new recruits, like your age, that just got a job maybe last year, and you were paid $85,000 your very first year working, they're saying that, no, I'm not going to go back in to work in the company office. Why? Why would they not want to go back in? I just gave you some hints for it. Did you have a guess?
Yes, because we said that our generation don't want only money, they want flexible work. They prefer other opportunities and other than money.
Okay, good. That's part of it. And you're absolutely right. If we start looking at my generation, when I was younger, starting to have my first real job, if I was working in Korea, that time, everyone in Korea didn't have enough money to pay for shoes. They didn't have enough money to have one bowl of rice. So they were very, very poor. They had almost nothing. They would take any opportunity to work and hopefully get a little bit of money at the end of a month or the end of a year. Or sometimes the company wouldn't pay them anything. They would just provide housing or food or clothing, something like that. So the younger generation doesn't have that that mental environment. They don't have that stress. They now, most of them are comfortable with Nike shoes or expensive laptops and expensive living environments. And so these guys at some of the highest paid jobs in the world for young people, starting salary right out of university, 85,000 was the norm. Now it's 110,000 up to $120,000. The very first job you get after you graduate from undergraduate university, over $110,000 to $120,000. But the reason is these guys are now aware that this company works you too much. They think the normal working environment is 35 hours a week, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, that's normal. After that, they should be able to go fishing or traveling or do whatever they want. However, most companies, the youngest workers, they see that there's so many people applying and they're usually not specialized. We can get millions of applicants. And so they do, and they work them really, really hard, and they only keep the best. The second year, they might not hire back the people that aren't really competitive. And so these people are seeing the other side. The young people are seeing, you work us too hard here. It's not working 35-hour weeks. We're working 105 to 120 hours of work each week at these companies. It's very popular at big investment banks and at consulting companies. Very, very popular. Even here in Korea and in almost every country I've been. Please be aware of that. These high-paying jobs, they don't say you have to do it. But if you don't, your opportunity to stay will not stay. They will find somebody else usually to replace you, except now. So many people have been doing this work that they're now communicating with each other. And there was a group of workers like you. I don't know how many people we have online. Well, how many people do we have online right now today? 12?
Around 10, 12. Yes.
And 12 people in our group, we don't even see, invisible people are around us, but you're working together. You have incredible power. These people at some of the world's best companies, they just did a project. They talked together. They found out, how happy are you at this job? The pay is $85,000. Do you think it's worth it? And most of them, 90% of them say no. It's hurting my mental health. It's hurting my physical health. I'm going to quit as soon as I can find some other job. That report that was not really official in the company, but some people did that you could do, was released in social media. And now, not just this company, but almost all investment banking companies changed the pay from 85, 30% higher, up to over $100,000 per year to try to keep those people, because many of those people got together, found out the reality, and started quitting. And so the story is talking about that. You guys are doing research, you guys are doing projects. Don't just do it for class. I am not that important, especially in your lives. If you grow 120 years old, you should be networking together and working to, it's even better if you're working to help a company. So those types of things, identify that, work together. Here's some files that other students have found interesting related to this week's topic. The idea of compensation in the mobile executive from Harvard Business Review, or compensation cafeteria for top executives. When you are a top executive, it's not just the company says, I'll pay you this, take it or leave it. Most top executives will say, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. You'd be surprised, some of the rock star workers or pop musicians, top executives, So, some of them are requesting crazy special things. For example, when I go to work, I need to have this at my desk. I need to have this type of desk. I need to have this type of chair. There's one investment banker that was a top executive. He was saying he wanted this type of garbage can. Otherwise, he wouldn't work there. That garbage can was worth $80,000 just for a stupid garbage can. But some executives, if they have these skills, are starting to ask for it. That's in addition to certain things like housing could be provided. I've had jobs where they provided anything related to what I could need. All of my transportation, free. All of my communications, free. My cell phone, free. Expense accounts, credit cards for me to go take you guys out for lunches, they would pay for it. Because I was an executive managing marketing for a big company. And they wanted everybody to be aware of those things. So make sure you're aware of what is possible. Obviously, at a low level, you can't demand those top things, but the more you are aware of what compensation is out there, the better you can negotiate. And the better you can understand what they should be able to do, and you might be able to help them do even more. So it's not just this, there's several files here. And here, this is a relatively new file talking about how millennials want to work and live. And it's going through, it's showing lots of information. Obviously, you guys know what this is? Yeah, no, really. The Gallup poll, one of the world's biggest surveying organizations. It's good for you guys to know some of these key things. What is the biggest surveying group? Same thing as Gartner. Tobias, did I hear that you were interested in high-tech stuff?
Yes, that's right.
You know what is Gartner?
I think you told us about Gartner that they are like a consulting firm that makes like weekly or monthly updates and puts them into a small message or like a small paper and presents them to executives in the top tech firms in the US.
That's the important thing. They are one of the world's top technology gurus. They're gods giving lots of information because they're surveying everybody. They're surveying everything from Samsung, Apple, all high-tech companies, and they know what's the latest news. Obviously, Samsung doesn't tell Apple how they're usually working and what's the new technologies they're working on. That stuff is closely regarded. The Samsung office is here. When you go in as a top executive, you're not allowed to take anything with you. You're not allowed to take your phones and stuff inside. You're not allowed going to regular emails inside and out because they're trying to protect their trade secrets. And they think that secret sauce, their secrets inside, is what makes them very valuable. But they forget those workers, when they go home, when they go to a restaurant, some other executives like me being able to take you guys for lunch and dinner and get you drunk. Some people are just friends with them, so they share information. Other people will specifically get them drunk or trick them to think, okay, we have an interview for you and we'll pay you crazy amounts of compensation if you tell us how you're valuable. And secretly what they're asking for, you tell us what that company is working on, what are the company secrets, and you might get a job. And those interviews are fake, just to get information. I'm not saying Gartner does that, but that is popular amongst many firms. So if you are part of the best firms, you have this great information, and Gartner is one of the ones that you should remember. For technology, be aware what Gartner is saying. For regular surveys, be aware of this. Any of you aware of what are some other big famous organizations that get a lot of information that most companies should be tracking or aware of? What are other big consulting firms or survey firms? Anybody aware of Nielsen? McKinsey? Accenture? Make sure you're aware of some of those things, because it's not just you going for a job alone. You're now dealing with the old people that have been getting good files all the time. If you're not aware of some of those things, your value, they will think, might be lower. So you don't just ask for a job. Nobody should be thinking that anymore. You should be showing your value to help the organization. And if you don't know some of these basics, it'll be harder to get more attractive wages and compensation. Pia, could you, I blab too much, I talk too much. Could you summarize what was the important thing I just said?
And we should be aware of companies like McKinsey, and we should know basically how these people from older generations think and how we should present ourselves to choose rather present how we're valuable to them. So that might be.
Okay. Who else is here online? Hua, are you still here? Can you
Yes, I am.
pick one of the other students online and get the student to summarize, what am I showing here? This or a file that everybody has, the class requirements file. It's usually a main part of my email signature that goes out to anybody, whether you're a student or anybody, saying what many students need to do just for class. And this top file here is a picture of many different squares, and then a bigger couple of presentations and a paper. And then here is a very, I'll just show you quickly, but this one file is showing you certain things about the Jung personality test, or MBTI. And this is 16personalities.com, humanmetrics.com. My file, I'll show you more of this. This is the other file. So Hua, can you pick some students to tell us, why is this important? What should you be thinking about with all this stuff? These files, presentations, papers.
Okay, let's pick someone who seemed very quiet so far. Maybe Zafir? Zafir, are you here? Or
Yes, I'm here, but just can you repeat the question, please?
What is the significance of what I'm showing on the screen now, and now, and now, and now, and now, and now? So I showed several things. Can you try to tell the group, why am I showing this? What's the importance of it? Why do I talk about this almost every week?
To help us to be like, I don't know the exact word, but like stronger in the society.
Can you be a little more specific using one of these files? You can tell me which file you want me to show and talk.
Like maybe the last one, it was the student tips, I think.
This one?
Yeah, it's to help us to go straight to the success. And I see that you put one who say don't follow the sheep, like to be independent, and like we need to do things by ourselves and don't wait other people to do it for us.
So what is this red arrow? What does that represent?
It represents, like, you say to us that we need to do things by ourselves.
Okay, let me explain a little bit. Most of these people, especially in Korea, many people in Japan also, they study, they graduate from university after 3 years or 4 years, and then they wait in line to get a job. And so the employer has many people lined up, usually once a year, and they interview them to get a job. I am showing a different format, how you can go around it, how you should go around that. You should not just be waiting for a job. That way will not give you the best work conditions or the best base pay or your best compensation opportunities. Using this red arrow will. So what is this red arrow? Anybody in class? Yeah.
Well, to actively promote yourself and show that you're like you don't wait online for someone that that way. So you don't just wait for it to happen.
An example, for example, every single one of these people want to say, give me a job.
Yes.
I'm great, you should hire me.
So I could research what the employer is being, for example, interested about, and if I show them what I'm working on, and if it's better, also want to work with me, that I stand out from the crowd.
Anything else? Great. So what she just said is you guys in universities, good universities, you have access to millions of dollars of the best minds, the best benchmarking practices, the best information that a lot of people don't have. So you can get this to our online library, assemble it into a report, give it to help those people. That's one thing you can do. You should start showing these reports to those workers. Don't wait for a job until you've graduated. You start with that. Great. Next. What Pia said is perfect, but she's missing one extra thing that could help related to LinkedIn also. And so you can show a research file all by yourself, but it's better to show you're in this web. So this blue is one company you want to work for, like this is Samsung. And it's showing the Samsung family and their son is married to this person, which owns this organization. And then somebody else related to the organization is connected to the Sheila Hotel. So the Sheila Hotel and Samsung are part of it. And then this other person is connected to the Daesan group. And then it goes all over the place. There's big networks. Why is that important for you guys now? Trying to get jobs. Trying to impress or connect with this person. It might be a little bit challenging, but that idea, when you're doing this, you are in a university. You're not just by yourself, especially European groups or North American students. You will, many of you will just think about, what can I do to get a job for me? That is not wise in 2021, 2022. You are connected to many other people. For example, your university alumni. What do the alumni, somebody connected to him, or his boss went to my school and we have some sort of connection. So you start talking with this guy after you've talked to the boss for lunch, for example, and it will definitely make big changes. Start using this network. Who are you connected to? Start developing that now. And that is, for example, LinkedIn. Or your university alumni. Start developing that. It will change not just your treatment, but of course your base pay and your salary and your compensation as well. Ultimately, it's to get to your dream goals. So if you want some people used to say many years ago, they wanted $1 million and then they can retire. So if your dream was for $1 million, think about, okay, in 20 years, I'll have $1 million. In 10 years, I want 500,000. In 5 years, I should have 250,000. So keep working backwards from there down to develop it, and think, who are the people you can meet at a higher level? What are the skills and activities you can develop with to get you connected to the higher level? How can you meet these people at a higher level? And of course, leverage alumni, the other people you're connected to, not just you. Don't forget again that several students just think that especially in Korea, that the teacher is boss and you have to do everything the teacher says. Well, ultimately, in a good world, we're all equal, or the reality, I work for you guys. You guys should be able to say certain details to identify that you as the teacher work for me. I want these certain things. and then modify these details for your salary. So let's go back on. Again, it also talks about the 16 personalities. If you are the analyst style, what does that do? If you are the human metrics style, what does that do? I'm going to take a little bit of short time to talk about when you connect with a higher level person. The better you connect with them, the better the results. And if you are looking for higher wages, if you are looking for higher compensation, the more you connect with them, the better the results are going to be. If you're speaking the same language, if you're on the same wavelength, those are terms that were popular when I was growing up. I'm not sure what are the terms you guys are used to be able to communicate with somebody so well so that other person is happy to keep communicating with you. Be that same type. And so my type is this INTJ. And so this website is showing you this. This is a file that I've made showing you all of these details. I'm just going to go through a few things saying that, for example, not just me, but this website says INTJ types, they love to strategize. Absolutely. That's definitely me. Next, I hate inefficiency. Well, this says that code hates inefficiency. Absolutely. I perfectly agree. And I enjoy debate. I want you to debate with me. I want you to try to test the knowledge barriers. Some people don't, but whoever is this style does. If you know that interviewer's style and you can communicate with them like this, a proper debate, you will probably do better than just being the alternative styles. And so there's many things in the workplace. What's the ideal job? What do you prefer? What are your values? What areas you work with? What is your actual personality style breakdown? What stresses you? What de-stresses and relaxes you? What amount of the population is my thinking style and communication style? In the workplace, ideal jobs. This whole idea of we are not robotic, that idea that I don't usually like talking about touchy-feely things. I like getting right to the point. Even preferred leisure activities. So this type of thing, I encourage you guys to do quite a lot because it can connect you with other people. The more you know about that other person, the much better result you will have when you're negotiating your career. And so a simple thing, I don't know if you guys care about Harry Potter, even the small things like Harry Potter and the Patronus in the movie, each person has a Patronus, a certain character that is their style that protects them. What is your style? And so this goes through and it explains what are the different characters, what are their different styles. Maybe going into a meeting saying, you remind me of a bear. Some people would be shocked. What do you mean a bear? And then if you use this information to explain it, for example, you are a chimpanzee, some people might think that's an insult, but if you understand what are the advantages of a chimpanzee, that would help you connect with other people. So regardless of what style you are, it's more important to understand that top person you want to negotiate with, what is their style? Whether they're an owl. When was the last time you walked up to somebody and said, oh yeah, you're a typical elephant type person, right? If you said that to many of my family members back in Canada, you might get punched. So don't just say it without being prepared. Talk about what are the advantages. For example, one of these first ones here, the hyena. Usually people think that a hyena is usually a savage. And so if you go through it, these websites tell you that you savagely get through small talk. You don't chit chat very well. You get to the truth, what is the meat, what is important, and you get results very fast. So that is a good description of something that many people traditionally bad. So that controversial thing might be a good way to get people's attention. Same thing with your career choices. What job? Some of you younger people, you don't know what you want to do. This gives those suggestions. And if you wanted to see where I got a lot of that, these links are all here. This psychologyjunkie.com, I think is really interesting. There's a lot of interesting files there. So let's get back to more understanding about you guys, the HR management of yourselves, and then trying to understand the HR management of other people. Here is a report. It's a whole course just talking about how to do that. It's a professional development for strategic managers. It's about 140 pages talking about how to develop your professional skills, the skills required by these top engineers, how to do proper coaching and development, how to learn these proper skills, how to work with mentors, how to develop with leadership, effective presentation styles, personal skills, time management skills. All of this is taught in a very condensed way throughout here. And you can go through and check this anytime. Here is a file that actually students did before in the past, and it's explained here what you can do, how you can learn, many different links to potential answers. For example, do you guys know in HR management, yes, since you've been working with us for a while, you will have many types of workers, many types of managers. Well, according to research, how many different types of people are there? Good. Wow, she's good, huh? Generally, research says there's 16 different types of people in the world. My type is generally INTJ or ENTJ. Right. So if you understand that type, that's one thing. You can connect better with that person. The better you connect, the better you can negotiate for your wages and your compensation. Did you also know, Uzbek, how many types of learning styles are there? This guy learns one way, this person learns a different way. Well, how many different types are there? There's 16 different personality styles. My question for you, how many different learning styles are there? So what we're talking about here, somewhere here, VARK. So how you learn, the visual, the audio, the VARK. These learning styles are very important. If you don't understand this guy learns and learns a different way, and you're trying to present something that is not their learning style, they're not going to connect with you. And then there's the whole idea of the communication styles. How people talk is different than how they learn. There are several different ways of communicating. You should try to understand those also. So in addition to just showing your own goals and your steps to succeed, your goals should be a specific way. If you don't have certain goals designed in a certain smart way, which is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, research shows you will not achieve those as fast as if you do it this way. Next, having valuable information. For example, the Scopus and the SSCI, Forbes magazine, Fortune magazine, HBR. These files, almost all older, experienced business people know of them. They're very, very valuable Scopus journals that are very, very popular. So if you just list any of those names, most executives know them and kind of respect them. Like we said with the Gallup poll or the Gartner group, most top executives know them. If you know them, it's good too. And then there's small things like books teaching you just how to live, how to work, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So there's a variety of information here that you can use for your own personal development. Let's get back to the basic information here. So we're going to talk about the base wages and salaries, job evaluation, more different learning objectives. I just wanted to point out, where is it here? Oh, this file. Some students in the past have created research projects. You guys are all working on research projects now. Make sure you're aware of that extra step. After you present the research project sometime this week or next week, this is week 14. Sorry, this is week 11. You only have 14 weeks to present. Otherwise, you don't get those points. After you present, make sure you're focused on how you can develop and improve it before that final round and even in that final round, and then improve it and present it either to that company you wanted to work with or to that other professor in graduate school that you wanted to connect with, or you can present it to a journal. If you reference a certain journal a certain number of times, they are inclined to accept it. So having that publication, these students are working in that type of thing. Here is an example of what students have done in the past that is being published. You guys can do the same. So, what is a base wage? At the back, can you tell me what is a base wage? What does a wage mean to you? Okay, Celinda, can you explain what is a base wage? I'll give you a hint, related to compensation. How people are paid. Yeah.
For example, in Germany, it's like the government sets that you have.
We're very close. So base wage and minimum pay are close, but not the same, right? You can have base wage of $100,000 a year or $10,000 per month. That could be a base wage for me. It's definitely not at this school, but it could be.
So maybe it's like the amount you get paid annually, and you can also get more money depending on what you do.
Okay, we're getting closer. The idea of when you work for an organization, most young people, they know dollars. You have a $100 bill. Well, how many dollars do you get each week? When you have a contract, there is a contract that they will tell you how much you should get in 1 year. For example, $100,000. And if they divide the $100,000 by 12, that's how much you should be getting every month. But you don't get that total amount. That whatever that amount is divided by 12, your yearly pay divided by 12, that is your base pay. But they will take out certain taxes or retirement plans or pension plans. They will take out some things and give you the remainder. That is your base wage. But it's usually not important the higher you get. Why? What else is there? There are so many other things that are more important. And a lot of millennials like other things. I'm talking about this because generally the world is going crazy right now because of misunderstandings about base pay. I started today's class showing the highest paying company for university graduates are usually investment banks, like Goldman Sachs. Last year, they were paying the most on average, which was $85,000 a year. Now they're increasing it to $110,000 a year. That's the starting pay, base pay per year. But after you work there a few years, you realize there's other things. What else is there? Why else do you work? I gave an example of some guys want a garbage can. Some guys want special drinks where they work. That's crazy. But what are the other normal things you could get? Celinda? Good. So you will work for a certain amount of time, and then I want my contract to say, if I do this in this amount of time, I'll get a promotion. That is a work contract. That is a promotion. Good. And then you said another thing, a promotion. If I do this, I want a promotion. I think what I heard from you is I want to have a vacation or a longer vacation, because usually they say 2 weeks vacation in 1 year is normal. when you were working for a company, Pia, how many days vacation did your company usually give? You remember?
For an average worker in Germany, it's 6 weeks. A year, so quite a lot.
Do you know what is normal? Does anybody here in this group, including the online group, know what is normal vacation for workers in Korea? Most places in the world? Anybody know? 2 weeks. 52 weeks in a year, and you only get 2 weeks break. Right. Versus she said she got 6 weeks. She had a jackpot. She had a like amazing first time opportunity. So yes, those are other things in addition to your base pay that you should be negotiating. What else can you negotiate part of your contract when you get hired? More, a car, you can get a company car, yes, or even access to special company buses. Some contracts I worked for, I would have a driver driving me back and forth to work all the time. And whenever I wanted to go to certain places, the popular places in town, they had special, basically limos going from here to there all the time for all of their executives. And so if I was at this part of town, I just walk over here and I could have a limo going to some other place. That type of thing was quite popular. What else? I'll give you more hints. How do you guys live? Phones. Companies will give you phones. What else? Computers. They'll give you computers. Yes, Pia.
Phones, or maybe even the chance to get vacational.
Yes, they will give you your housing, your accommodations. Many universities own dormitories. Some of the dormitories are special, nice dormitories for professors. I was offered housing with this university. You can take it or leave it. If I want the housing, it's just free housing. If I don't take it, they will give extra cash instead of that, in addition to my base pay. Some professors, many professors are staying in the university housing, the dormitories. Others are still living in Seoul or other places. Yes, what else? Even related to phones and top executives when they had the credit cards. Phone bills. Many companies will pay for your phone bill or internet access. So you don't have to pay for your downloading data, right? Why? Why would they do that? What type of jobs should easily pay for your phone bill or internet access? Yeah.
Especially management job where you have to call a lot of people or be always secure and they always have to issue.
If you're in management, you can negotiate anything and probably get almost anything. Okay, but what you just said is also realistic for new graduates, you guys. If you have a job where you have to do research or you have to survey people, you can tell them, okay, I'll do this for that base pay, thank you very much, but could you also throw in that company phone and that phone account, because for my work, I'm going to keep surveying many other people. I'm going to keep getting this valuable information. So in addition to that, you get free phone expense, free internet access, all provided by the company. And usually the company has company accounts. So you know you have to pay this much every month, but you are an individual. The company has hundreds or thousands of people. Samsung is what, 300,000 people working around the world? They get better deals, so it's lower price for them. So it's not hard for them to give you free phone and internet access. The same thing for free hotel stays. When you go travel, can I get the hotel discount? Because the executives travel a lot, the company works with the hotels to get a discount. Versus if you go on vacation and you want to stay at a hotel, it may be very expensive. Sometimes the hotel can give you a free room just because you're with that company. I had not only my company job in my office, but several different hotels in this part of the Seoul This big hotel was part of the company. This big hotel in the northern part of Seoul was also part of it. So any day I could go in and use the health room, the gym, and the swimming pool for free here. And that swimming pool, all of that stuff. And the restaurants here, I get half price off just because you're connected to that company. That's not hard for these companies to give you. Since they have hundreds or thousands of workers, they can negotiate group amounts. You could get some of those things very free. Next time you travel, maybe you don't have to pay for the full restaurant bill or the hotel bill. That type of thing you might be wanting to be aware of. So the hourly, weekly, the monthly pay that employees receive for your work, that's the base wage. It's not minimum pay. That's different. It forms the foundation for employees' perception of fairness or equity of the pay system. Why would people like Elon Musk say he works with Tesla, right? He's the CEO of Tesla, but because he several years ago, he wanted to be a good guy. Nobody likes electric cars. He likes electric cars. He's going to do it, and his pay is only $1. Many CEOs say my base pay, my base wage is only $10 a year or $12 a year. Pay me $1 a month. I'm not joking. Many CEOs say that. Why? Uzbek?
Because everything is covered by this offer.
Yeah, everything we just talked about is covered. Yes, they could have free housing. What else though? None of that stuff I talked to you about is making you rich yet. And generally, a lot of people want to get rich. So how is a CEO going to get rich if they're only getting $1 a month? Base pay.
Even if they don't get any wage, they have stocks of the company and they get
Absolutely, that's extra. They have stocks, and provided the stocks go up and down, they get that. Or as Celinda said, if I work and I do this much at the end of the year, you give me this many new stock, or you give me this type of bonus. Anybody know what were the bonuses that Elon Musk asked for? He was saying if his company starts at 0 and each year it gets up to this amount, if the stock for the company gets this high, he gets like an extra $1 billion. I'm not joking, not million, billion. I believe his last pay, because he moved the stock company from here to here, he got, I think it was $50 billion bonus. But his base pay is like $1 a month. So you ask him, how much are you paid? He can say, I'm doing it because I love the world. I'm only doing it for volunteer for $1 a month. Baloney! He got $50 billion, right? So be aware of how this compensation works. It could help you. So the objective of the base wage in the salary system, it's supposed to be establishing a structure for equitable compensation. The idea that a company makes this much money and we have this many workers, we should divide that so everybody gets the similar amount of profit, right? That almost never happens. Top companies. When I was an executive in companies, I would get, for example, this much pay or compensation. Any idea how much high-tech companies generally, based on how much they're going to sell this year, the company makes this much money, and then they pay this much to each worker? Any idea what's the difference? Generally, they're saying from every $750,000 in revenue, or every $1 million in revenue, we can pay an extra 100,000, or we can hire another staff. Some people are saying it's $2 million, every $2 million, or $2.5 million the company makes, they can pay the staff $100,000. So be aware of some of those types of systems. The level in the jobs. The base pay usually is tracking your performance. The more you work, the more results you get, usually the more base pay you get. That's normally how they work it, but you could work it the other way for your advantage. If you know you're going to hit these targets, not the targets that he's thinking of or the company's thinking of. So be aware of that. The phases of establishing the pay ranges include determining relative worth of a different job in the organization and the pricing of different jobs. There are some jobs that get paid higher than other jobs, right? Can you guys name some jobs that might have a higher amount of pay versus other jobs? Anybody aware of that? What about
Doctor.
Right.
Doctor.
Okay, a doctor, some doctors working for the city get paid sometimes $120,000 a year. That might be a typical doctor's yearly contract. Okay, some other doctors, if they're their own company, might be making $100,000 per month. Okay, what else? What about regular workers? What's a high level of salary versus a low level of salary? Any other examples? Teacher, is there a different pay for teachers? Do business teachers get different pay than history teachers or English teachers?
Well, the professors get different pay.
Any idea of how, so you said professors get higher pay than elementary school? Yes, so professors get higher pay than elementary. Why? Any idea? Can you say that's fair? We're both teaching. We both have to give work and assign work. It's the same job. More training, yes. So the same thing with your compensation, the more value you say you bring, the higher the compensation. I have the PhD, so I have that higher level. And I have that work experience, I have that higher level. And I have the number of years of teaching, so I have a higher level. And the idea of teaching business, you definitely get much higher pay than an English teacher or a history teacher. Lots higher. Any idea what is a regular professor's pay in Korea or internationally? Maybe you're not interested. In Korea, $100,000, no big deal. $300,000, that's pretty rare, but popular in Korea. It's not popular, it's possible in Korea. Some professors in North America, business professors, especially strategy or international management professors, they're paid $500,000 a year. And that's not the top. That's just a high end of the average. So definitely not what I'm paid here. This university is not paying that. So job evaluations. How do you know if that person's good or not? How can you evaluate? How do you evaluate you're worth $100,000 or you're worth nothing? Get out of here. I'll survey all of you. Am I worth something or nothing? You're gonna fail. Yeah.
I mean, you can get the results, and I know that in my hometown university, kind of evaluations by asking the students how they, for example, thought about the professor or what they learned, so that they can not only see the grades, but the students have to open their opinion.
Yes. Again, almost every professor, their pay depends on how happy you are. Right? That's why usually good universities, good systems, they will survey people, students, not just at the end, but also towards the beginning. Good universities survey you usually around the 4-week mark, halfway to like a quarter of the way through. And then they will also survey you close to the end. And then the professor's pay or their promotions is linked to that. Do you guys know what is more valuable than that? You might be shocked. I'll just go ahead and tell you. Most professors' pay is not closely linked to student happiness. Most professors' pay is more closely linked to publishing. The more they publish, the higher they get paid, period. But there's different levels of publishing. Do you think a professor in China that publishes a paper gets as much as somebody here in Korea or in North America? Any ideas about that? Do Chinese professors get paid more or less? Any ideas? Less? Would you be surprised that there's the national policy in China that if professors, I don't care if the students are happy, I'm just talking if a teacher publishes a paper, they generally get up to $3,000 each paper. The best papers, you're not going to believe this, the best papers, in addition to base pay, the university will pay you every month this much. Plus, in addition to that, they sometimes get $165,000 bonus for publishing just one extra paper. Ilok, Yukchan, Obegmanan, extra just for each paper. So, but for more normal people, you should try to find out what does the company pay, of course, but why would they pay extra? That bonus, what is the bonus for? It shows you what the organization cares about. Most people, I used to think, the teacher should care the most about students. Well, that's not the reality. They usually care about pay for publishing. Any idea why? You should think not just what is the base pay, but what are those bonuses for and why? For example, those papers that a university publishes, the more you publish, the higher the university goes in ranking, international ranking. So try to think about those things when you're working for a company. If you're going to Samsung, Samsung has many different divisions, many different units, many different work groups. Try to find out the base pay is here. Why would you pay extra? What are the bonuses for and why? When you go to an interview, you should be not focused on base pay. If you walk into an interview and you ask, what is the pay? Unfortunately, I pretty much guarantee the interviewer will think less of you, much less of you. Be careful. Why? Because they think you're only in it for the money. If you're only in it for the money, you won't do the job as much, and you won't do the job as well as somebody that just loves doing the job. If you love doing it, you will do the job 9 to 5, and then you go home or go to a bar and you keep talking about it with your other friends. You keep developing that job. Versus if you only do it for the money, at 5 o'clock, you go home, you stop thinking about it. You stop developing it. So what are those extras and why? That shows what the organization really cares about. When you are doing the job evaluations, it's not just on how much did you do that month. Your base pay is usually linked to each month you have to do these different jobs. If you did this, you get 100% of your base pay. If you did more, you get a bonus. If you do less, you get a warning. You might get fired. That comes from just your manager evaluating your job. And then the better companies do a 360-degree evaluation. It's not just you and the manager. He will evaluate you, but then other workers around you also evaluate you. And so everybody around you evaluates you and you evaluate them in addition to you evaluate the manager. 360-degree evaluations. That's normal. That's part of the extra job evaluations that you should be aware of. And whatever you say you're going to do for the company, during your interview, you should be able to say, you want this, but I can do this more. That will get you the job. That will help you. But in your monthly evaluations, every month you talk to the manager, if you say you can do these things, his job is to get more out of you. So whatever you say, I can do this, he says, well, you should do more. And so he's going to stretch whatever you're going to try to get more out of you. Be aware of that. And then at the end of the month, if you don't get that more, you're going to be warned. Does that sound fair, Celinda? Sorry? Oh, okay. Could you repeat the idea, Pia?
Yeah, it's fair that the manager always first it doesn't really sound fair, but I guess it's just trying to support you by pushing you to try harder.
Right, every month, the manager might give you 10 jobs to do. Or when sometimes you will select what jobs you want to work on. Mr. Manager, I want to do these 10 jobs this month. Well, his job, the president tells him he has to make you grow, make the company grow. You don't just work, you should work harder, you should work better, work more efficiently. So you say, I can do these 10 jobs. He will say, you should do 12 jobs that month. Then at the end of the month, if you only do 10, you actually get a warning because you didn't meet the target he set for you. So be aware of how that system works. So steps for the job evaluation program. Gathering information on the jobs being evaluated. Identify factors to be used in determining worth of different jobs in the organization. Don't focus on those 10 jobs the same. Probably 8 of those jobs are garbage that the company doesn't care about. 1 or 2 of them might be very important. Just like the idea that you come, you start teaching. I think teaching students is very important. The university cares more about publishing than teaching. So, for example, I could get my yearly, everything I need to get for my manager, I can get all of it with publishing 1 good paper. Versus teaching a class, I only get like 15 of the 200 points I need. 1 class gets like 15 points if it's done perfectly. So be aware of the different evaluations, different values of different jobs. Potential uses of job evaluations: to provide a basis for a simpler, more rational wage structure, to provide an agreed on means of classifying new or changed jobs, provide a means of comparing jobs and pay rates with those of other organizations. So there's many different reasons how you select this pay and the value of the pay. But why is the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, why are the Black employees' jobs and women's or female jobs, they're doing the same job and they're getting in Korea, what is it, 60 to sometimes 70 or 80%? Have any of you worked on the gender details in Korea? Somebody is working on that in this class. You are? No? Generally, women are paid much less, sometimes 30% less than men doing the same jobs in Korea. Be aware of those types of things. If you're not aware, many people don't say how much you're paid. And so you could be working for 20, 30 years, getting 30%, not just 30% less than that other person, but in the very first year, you're getting 30% less. And he might be getting more bonuses every year. So it's growing almost exponentially compared to your growth. So be aware of those details. Talking about them, arguing with them with HR can create problems and you might not get hired. But for presenting solutions to do it, like how Iceland solved those problems in the shortest amount of time, Korea could learn a lot from Iceland. So be aware of those types of things. Any questions about any of this yet? No? Job ranking or job classifications. There's many different ways to do this stuff. Job ranks in order of their difficulty, the order of their education, the order of their training, order of their complexity. Job classification methods determines the relative worth of the job by comparing it to a predetermined scale of classes or grades of jobs. Be aware of those details. I think we are pretty much finished the class, right? Any questions before you guys are gone? Again, we only have a few weeks left. I hope you guys get the most out of what you want to learn from HR. Please talk to the teaching team. Schedule your final presentations. share your presentations in Facebook and start commenting on these other groups. Get comments before you start doing your final presentation. Anyway, with that said, thank you very much. We're done for today. Have a good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Hey.